सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। So in the last session, we discussed about the nature of the world. Before that, we did the mountain and the squirrel. We discussed about how the mind gets into a complex. Either it can be a inferiority complex, I'm nobody, I'm nothing, or it can be a superiority complex. I am the only one who need to be catered to, who need to be, world should be concerned about. A superiority complex, an ego. So both are wrong because they are both and goes outside the frame of our personality. So Vedanta teaches us to understand ourselves as we are, who we are, not to have a superiority complex or inferiority complex. And that's why the Mountain and the Squirrel, a very beautiful poem where the poet talks about this concept of talents differ, all are well and wisely put. So everything has a place. We need to understand that we are a spoke in the wheel of life, and each spoke has a place. None of the spoke is important or not important. So, as long as we are clear in our understanding that we have a place, but our place is not the only place in the world. In other words, we get into the frame of mind that, world cannot survive, function without me. Out of the time we have this understanding, our family cannot live without us. That's not a right understanding to carry because it's not fact. The world around us, or the society or the country can very much manage without us. Then where do we stand? What's our place? We have an obligation, being part of this system, part of the world, part of the creation. We have an obligation to serve, to sacrifice, to give back. And by doing that, we are not doing any favor to anybody. Nobody needs our favor. We have been receiving from the world every moment of our life. That recognition of what all we have received. And based on that, automatically we feel we are grateful and we should give back. That thought comes in. So nobody needs our favor. We cannot do a favor. It is our responsibility and obligation to give back. And that's where the mountain, the squirrel, and the complex came in. Then we discussed about the nature of the world, where interesting part or the law we discussed was change or perish seems to be the law of nature. In other words, change is the only constant. That is a law. Every moment of our life, everything around us, in us, is changing. The world is changing. We are changing. So Vedanta is teaching us how to adapt to changes gracefully with a smile. How do we say that? How do we apply that? First, gray hair. How do we take it? How do we take the wrinkles? How do we take our growth? Physical body is growing. Children are growing. Children are no more the same. When they were younger, they were more closer, connected. Now they are grown up. How do we take the growth? Natural growth. Then the world is changing. People around us are changing. So how do we accept the nature of the world, which is change? World is in a constant flux of change. So as an individual, we need to adapt to it, understand it, and only then we can be in harmony with the world. And that's where it comes. Christ says, resist not evil. That's where Christ says, resist not evil, are the blessed words of Christ. So there will be imperfection as you start becoming more and more conscious of the world, of the changes. You will see imperfections, and that is growth. The great evolutionist Dr. David Starr Jordan says, in our discussion of the social evolution, we must remember that the very perfection of society must always appear as imperfection. For the highly developed society is dynamic. A static society is in a condition of arrested development. The most highly developed organism shows the highest, greatest imperfection. So, as we start moving, progressing, we start seeing imperfection around us, and slowly we start seeing imperfection within us. In fact, one of the things Somji often mentions is the way we keep our cupboards, wardrobe. It's completely, how is it organized? Or the table, our study table. It highlights our state of the mind. How do we conduct ourselves? More refined, more growth as a human being, more organized we become externally and internally. The thoughts, desires, actions, everything is more organized, more balanced, more focused. It's not random, haphazard. It's not like that. There's a reason, there's a purpose. That's what he's talking about. The nature of the world is change. So we need to grow. What is growth? Growth is defined by understanding this change, adapting these changes externally. And the next topic, the course of life, where we discussed about evolution is marked by constant striving and struggling in life. Where there is no effort and exertion, there is degradation and death. So, evolution in a human being is marked by a constant willingness, constant effort to grow as a human being, become a better version of ourselves. In fact, that's spirituality, that is growth, that is the knowledge talking about. There cannot be any time we feel complacent about ourselves, then we stop growing. We need to have that attitude constantly to keep on progressing, keep on working on ourselves, on our personality. Evolution is internal, it's not external. So, automatically, when we grow as a person, we become better as a person. The world is inspired and it changes, it becomes better. We try the other way, we try to change the world, but it doesn't work like that. If I want to change, I change myself. So, we discussed about a very interesting, you believe happiness resides in the world at large. So, our approach in life, what is growth? That's where the goal in life will come in, the next topic. So, our approach in life is we go all out in the world and we indulge with the belief that growth means being more and more happier. And our concept of happiness is indulging more and more in the world, acquiring more and more of the world. That is enjoyment, that is happiness. Whereas Vedanta says, analyze it. Is it so? You say the world is giving you happiness. Is that a fact? We analyzed a few examples earlier where we said an object or a being. Both the cases, when we contact the object, cigarette being the same, I'm using the same example, easier for reference, for memory. Cigarette being the same, one person detests smoke, other person is fond of smoking, loves to smoke, looking for avenues to smoke. So we can't say the object cigarette is giving you happiness. If it was so, then everybody will be having the same experience, which is not true. So we say that happiness is not inherent in the object. Happiness is something how you relate to it. And another example we gave, this is for the object. For being, another example we gave, if you remember, was for a lady. One person wants to divorce the lady, desperately tries all the contacts only to get rid of that person. Another person is looking forward to marry the same lady. If there was agony, agitation in the contact with the person, with the lady, both of them will have the same experience, which is not so. One person is agitated, one person is courting the same lady, gives happiness. So we say that happiness is not inherent in the world, not inherent in the object or being of the world. It is how our mind relates, connects to the world, that we interpret as happiness, joy, contentment. And the last we ended with, where in Bhagavad Gita, one of the scripture, it says, true happiness is like poison in the beginning, but nectar in the end. False happiness is like nectar in the beginning, but poison in the end. It is as if a law. It's not really a law, but it seems to be like that. Bhagavad Gita says, it appears to be so pleasant in the beginning, and the mind wants instant pleasure, goes for immediate happiness, and it grabs it, and we end up with sorrow and suffering in the long run. Whereas something which seems to be so detestable in the beginning, example, getting up in the morning, exercises, living a disciplined life, proper health routine, food habits, it's detestable, it's not pleasant. But in the long term, it keeps you healthy physically, it can be emotionally, intellectually. So it is important that don't go merely by the face value. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that don't go for something you dislike, or you like, leave it aside, and whatever you dislike, you grab it. He's not saying that. He's only saying that don't approach the world based on your likes and dislikes, because you don't know what's coming. Instead, go by your reasoning, go by your understanding, your own intellect, and based on that, your obligation, whatever you think is the right course of action, do it. That will give you a long-term satisfaction. Long-term, it will give you happiness. That's what he means by false happiness is like nectar in the beginning, poison in the end. But true happiness, something which gives you a sustainable joy, is like poison in the beginning, but nectar in the end. It's detestable in the beginning, in the face value, you will never choose to lead that life. But in long term, it helps, it benefits. So go by something which is not merely by the likes and dislikes, but by your intellect. Now that's what where we ended in the last session. Now we're starting with the goal of life. So what is the goal of life? What should be the goal of life? What is interesting? Vedanta is like, if you have to understand Vedanta in one word or one statement, it's like a GPS. Now, what is the task of a GPS? Any Google Maps or anything, what is the part played by a map, an app, a Google Apps? Anyone? What is the activity? What is it helping with? There are two aspects in it. Yes.
To help us arrive at a particular destination.
Okay. One. What's the second thing?
Quickest route.
Quickest route. Okay. Anything else? Kavya, you can think of something?
Yes, sir, to show us any possible congestion beforehand.
Okay, that's interesting, right? Other than that, like two things, two main factors. One, like Sharin was saying, it helps you to reach the destination, right? So, Rikin, we are talking about maps, Google Map. How does it help? So, what are the aspects of a Google Map? So, one, like Sharin said, it takes you to a destination. What is the other aspect of the map? The important aspect which it helps with. Yeah, Rikin, go ahead.
It tells you where you are.
It tells you where you are. So, two aspects: where you are, where you have to go. So, Vedanta is like a GPS, it gives you a direction in life. So, once we know where we want to reach, automatically we will do everything to maneuver ourselves in that direction. The rest becomes simple. Other point is, if we don't have a goal in life, we do not need the map. In other words, if we are complacent, we are comfortable wherever we are happy, everything is wrong with the world, there's nothing wrong with me, but it's all good. When we become complacent, we don't need Vedanta. If we're happy wherever we are, we don't need a Google map. Why do we use a Google map? Only when you want to go somewhere, right? You want to reach somewhere, then comes the necessity of how to go about it. Similarly, friends, in life, it is important to have a purpose, a goal in life. What am I doing? Why am I doing? And that's what the topic is talking about. So, uh, so what they are saying is, as a human being, our goal of life is to seek that infinite bliss within. We'll come to that understanding. So earlier, if you remember, we said that we go to the world with the belief that it's going to give me happiness, joy, contentment, and we find out it's not there. So then he's telling us, these masters are telling us where it is. It's not external, it is something internal. So, goal of life, purpose of life is to seek that infinite happiness which we owe. It's not something we have to get from anywhere. We already have it. It's just we need to understand it for ourselves. And that's the reason, if you analyze our pursuit in the world, what do we need? What are we looking for in the world? Name, fame, power, position, money, enjoyment. All this we are seeking in the world, right? Take any aspect. Name. Is there anybody who is satisfied, who's content with whatever fame and name he has got in the world? No. In fact, people who have it, they were detested. They want to run away from it. They don't want to be in the media. They don't want people to know where they are. They want to run away from it, right? Money. Find out people who are, is anybody there who is content with whatever they had? No. It can be anything, right? So the question is, why are people not getting contentment in the world? Answer is here. This topic talks about because your real nature is infinite. So you will never rest content until you reach infinite name, infinite fame, infinite power, infinite position, infinite wealth, and which you can never, you keep on chasing. It's like a shadow, you're chasing, and by the time you reach, you realize it's not there. So they're saying that how do we go about it? And that's where the topic is. The false pursuit, the external material objects are simply, it doesn't help. You know, there's a very interesting quotation by Swami Ramatirtha. He says, iron and gold can buy iron and gold. Iron and gold can buy iron and gold. We need to have the understanding, what can world give me? At the level of the physical body, what can I get from the world? Material objects can only give you material objects. That's what it means by saying iron and gold can buy only iron and gold. You can buy with wealth. What can you buy? You can buy the biggest gym, your own trainer, yoga teacher, right? All that you can buy for yourself, but you cannot buy health. It has a limitation, right? At the physical body. At the emotional level, if you look into, if you have wealth, there'll be people flocking around you all the time, right? But you cannot buy genuine concern, genuine love. Wealth has a limitation. At the intellectual level, what can wealth buy? You can buy a library for yourself, but you can't buy knowledge. You can't buy understanding. You can't buy wisdom. So that has to be worked on by ourselves. So once we understand that the infinite happiness which we are seeking is not in the world, that's what they are saying. That's a statement they're making. So they're saying you are going to the world with the hope that it is going to give you satisfaction, enjoyment, happiness. Analyze that. Even the world is changing. That was the earlier topic. And here it's saying that the goal of life has to be something which is permanent, constant, and that's what the happiness you're talking about, that is within you. That absolute constant happiness is not in the external world, it is within. So more you go deeper in your personality, better you will be in rooted, going closer to your inner personality, inner self. So deep root grounded in self-consciousness for full growth. There's an interesting example given of bonsai where it talks about we all are like spiritual dwarf. We are all playing at the surface level. And since we have not gone deeper in our personality, remember we talked about the body, physical level, emotional level, intellectual level, and we are talking about the self, which is the consciousness. In the other sessions, when we talk about technical, we go to the body, mind, intellect, and the self. So more you go deeper in your own personality, physical level is when we are at the physical level, everything physical attracts you. Everything physical affects you. Weather affects you. Your health affects you. So when we are at that level, we are affected. We can't do anything at that level. We are a victim at the physical level. Moment we go deeper in our personality, which is the emotional level, we are better control of our personality. Further down, when you go into the intellectual level, knowledge, understanding of life, you see things like we said, the last topic was the world is a flux of change. So that's the intellectual concept. Moment you understand that world is changing, how do you apply that? If I am depending on a changing factor, I cannot expect the changing factor to be constant, isn't it? I cannot expect something which is a variable to be a constant. That is unwise of me. So since the world is changing, I understand the world is changing, I adapt to it. And that's the wisdom talking about. So I'm not affected by it. So physical level, if I'm at the physical level, I'll be affected by everything happening at the physical level. Go deeper at the emotional level. Still, I get affected at the emotional level. People, I need emotions. I need people to cater to me, like me. When they hate me, I have a difference in opinion for them. Further down, I go deeper in my personality to the intellectual level, understanding, reasoning, not taking anything for granted. Automatically, my personality is more stable. there is certain level of stability in my personality since I am in control of my own mind. Right? And then he's talking about the topic here is the goal of life is to go to the root, the source, which is infinite happiness, which is the self. So we are trying to understand how do we go about it. In the earlier class, we discussed the same, that it's easy to say, we talk about it, but we need to have some practical way to approach it. And that is that go deeper in your personality. And the example given is very interesting of a bonsai. A bonsai plant, if you see, it's so beautiful. Such a small, tiny tree, such a beautiful branches, leaves, everything is there. But the fruits are not really ripened, not really developed, grown. You can't eat it really. It doesn't have a taste, right? So it's not completely developed. So in life, it is important that we access the deeper level of our personality. Go not merely living at the surface level. So if you live at the surface level, we will not be spiritually growing. That's what they're talking about. So then comes the last topic of the subtopic, which is talking about removing the phases of ignorance. So right now, we are steeped in ignorance. We need to be aware of it. We don't know where we are coming from. We don't know where we are going. We don't know when we are going. We don't know what's going around us. We are completely steeped in ignorance. So, Vedanta is a knowledge which helps us to come out of this ignorance and reach the goal of our life, seek the infinite bliss within us. Now, before we get into the ignorance, to keep it very simple, we all are acting in life. We have to function in life. Action is the insignia of life. We all are acting. What spirituality is talking about is make action meaningful. Make it purposeful. Have a reason, have a direction in life. Then that action is evolutionary. Then it is helping you to grow as a person. Same action. Same action can be mechanically performed. And when we do that, we merely flow with the world and the environment. We get into peer pressure. We get into whatever is convenient. What happens is we get agitated, disturbed. We don't want to act. We want to run away from action. We seek uh, weekend, vacation. All that happens because we are not enjoying what we are doing in the present. Nothing wrong with the work, nothing wrong with the world. We just didn't realize, didn't learn how to approach the world, how to relate to the work. So what happens is either when we get into work, we get involved, or we say we don't want to work. There's no balanced way of functioning. Vedanta is saying you do what ought to be done without getting involved. Why are you getting involved in it? So how do you get the mind away from the involvement is only through knowledge. When you have a higher understanding of things, you don't get involved. See, Vedanta is talking about laws of life. One of the law we discuss is merely perform action, don't worry about the fruit. This is a statement we have heard again and again. Now the question is, what does it mean? Does it mean that people are saying that don't think of result means that we should not be concerned about result, we should not be having result in our mind at all? If we don't have result in as a goal, how do we progress? Where do we go? Even realization is a result. What they are saying is don't focus on result. If you keep doing what ought to be done to reach the destination, you will move, you will reach there. Don't worry. So the effort has to be to do the right course of action now here. Action with understanding is important. Mere action is negative. Mere action leads to involvement. Mind gets involved. So we need to have an understanding of higher values, and that's where this 3 phase of ignorance comes in. The first phase is, you may say, okay, I don't know what's going on. What do you mean by infinite bliss? What is infinite bliss? What is this God? What is this reality? What is the self-realization? I don't understand it. You start listening to the scriptures. What we're doing is just discussing the ideas, thoughts, scriptures. When you start listening, thereafter, you can't say, I don't know. You know it. You remove the first phase of ignorance, it's called Shravana, by listening. Listening can be reading, can be any means of gaining information, knowledge. Those days, it was only word of mouth, so it was listening, Shravana. So first, how do you remove the first phase of ignorance, which is, I don't know, is by gaining knowledge. Having gained the knowledge, you may say, I don't understand it. I don't understand what they are saying. So to remove the second phase of ignorance, which is lack of understanding, is reflection, Manana. If you remember, we discussed about it earlier. Now, what is important to note is, you cannot delegate reflection. We need to do it ourselves. So it has to be part of our learning. The purpose of learning is transformation. It's not merely collecting information. It doesn't matter how much we know, but the point is, how much am I able to apply this knowledge in my day-to-day life? Remember, there is no limitation of this knowledge. This knowledge is complete. There is limitation of our understanding, which makes it difficult to apply this knowledge in our day-to-day life. It's a very practical, very relatable knowledge. It takes you to the ultimate purpose of infinite happiness. So it starts, remember we said, the GPS tells you where you are, where you want to go. So it takes you step by step from wherever you are to the ultimate destination. It gives you the entire path, provided we put the effort. And what is the effort? Invest your time and effort in reflection. It's not merely accumulating knowledge. All the information we are gathering here is not going to help. You already know most of the things. But what is important is your own self-reflection. You make sense of what is being communicated. You know, why is it important? Because you need to deal with the most difficult aspect or difficult person, if you may say, is yourself. You have to deal with your own mind. So it is difficult to convince your own mind. Everybody knows what is right, what is wrong. How do we say that? You do wrong things, you hide and do wrong things, isn't it? You don't do it openly. You do right things openly, isn't it? If you say, I don't know what is right and wrong, why do you do that? You also know what is right, what is wrong. But the problem is not knowing, but the problem is applying the knowledge, understanding. And that's where you're fighting your own mind. Mind wants immediate things. So it is the intellect which holds and makes sense of it. Wait, hold. Is it necessary? Is it right? Is it going to help you? Is it the evolutionary? All that comes from the intellect, knowledge, understanding. And the deeper reflection is going to develop your intellect. When you are reflecting, the knowledge is so subtle. This reflection helps you in building that strength, that stamina to face life. It's exactly like a gym. Why do you go to a gym? It is an organized way, a structured way to develop your muscle, isn't it? You go to the gym where there is a whole structured way. There's a person who is there teaching or helping you. There are equipments which are conducive. All that is for building your strength, stamina, right? So you do workout, and you have, having done that workout, having developed your muscle, having developed the stamina in the morning or whenever, you are able to use that stamina in your life wherever you are, isn't it? It's not that you have to go back to the gym to use the stamina. No, you are developing in your own personality, but you can apply it, use it anywhere. Similarly, friends, this knowledge you're learning the early hours of the morning. In fact, the next chapter is talking about the early hours, the Sattvic time. The early hours of the morning, you are reflecting. That's the time. Why is it chosen? Because your intellect is sharp in the early hours. Whatever intellect you have, it's available. Your mind is quiet. Environment is less distracting. So making everything conducive for your higher learning, for your reflection. So try and spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever you can spare every day. Try to read less, think more. The way to work out is you have to keep on doing the same set again and again, isn't it? Similarly, you read less, consume less, and try to reflect more on it. That develops your intellectual stamina. And that reflection helps in applying it in your day-to-day life. Another example given for reflection is, imagine you have a cup of tea. So I visit you and you give me a cup of tea. I have it. I said, sorry, can you give me, it's not sweet. So you rush and you get sugar and you give me 1 spoon of sugar. I taste it, it's still not sweet. You give me another spoon of sugar. I taste it, it's still not sweet. Third spoon, still not sweet. What's going wrong? Why is it not sweet? Yeah, Rikin?
It has not dissolved yet.
It's not dissolved yet. Correct. Merely adding sugar is not going to change the taste of the tea. What I need to do, I need to take the spoon and dissolve it. And what is dissolving? Merely collecting information is not going to transform me as a person. It is reflection which actually dissolves in your personality and becomes part of you. When you're drinking the tea, every part of the tea, the sugar is dissolved. You're tasting it, right? Similarly, every part of your personality, whatever you do, you are able to apply this knowledge in every activity. That is transformation. Thereafter, you don't need knowledge. You don't need masters. You already know it. So, how did you do it? Through your own reflection. Then you say, okay, I understand it, but I don't have the true experience of the reality of what these masters are talking about. And that's where comes Nidhidyasana, or deeper reflection or meditation. You can say contemplation. So when you try and go deeper in what exactly they are trying to communicate, one thing is for our application purpose. One thing is to go deeper in this subject and understand what are they trying to say. What do they mean by saying that the consciousness is within you? we were talking last time. It's an idea, it's a concept. So when you do deeper reflection, manana, deeper manana is called Nidhidyasana meditation, then you get an experience. Final experience is realization. Even relative sense, you get deeper experience of that reality. So that's what is the ultimate goal of a human being. So he's saying that how do you reach that state is by removing ignorance. We are steeped in ignorance. How do you work it out? By gaining knowledge. First phase of ignorance is removed by Shravana, gaining knowledge, takes away your lack of information. Second phase, we don't understand. I get it, but I received it, but I don't understand it. How to remove that is by applying the deeper reflection, which is manana, and go further down, which is meditation, nidhidyasana. So that's what he's talking about in the topic here. So the native home of happiness is your own self, but if its root is not dig deep, they rest in the superficial layers of our personality, his growth is stunted. He will not find true happiness in life. Such a person is akin to a bonsai. This we discussed. And then he said, hence, the knowledge of the self becomes all important in life. At present, we do not know. And the way to get it is lack of information, understanding, experience through Shravana, Manana, and Nidhidyasana. And that completes the chapter. So in this chapter, which is chapter 3, we started by life its course, where we discussed about the composition of life, and we moved on to the individual mechanism, how it works, and then the nature of the world, which is a constant change, and then the course of life. And we said that our goal of life is to get to the ultimate reality, the happiness, infinite bliss, which is within us. Now, code of living is the next chapter. The scope of spiritual education. Now, the purpose of education is to help humanity to grow, right? As a collectively, as a society, the knowledge, religion, scriptures was meant to help humanity grow, become better, identify with one another. Whereas it has become other side, other way. It actually separates each other. We see differences within ourselves, within our own religion. We see differences between humanity. We see differences. So the current state is we get into this commentaries and bhashyas. Bhashyas are the commentaries of the ancient text. So the way these texts are being written are very cryptic. And it has a reason, it has a purpose to it. They have presented the knowledge in a cryptic way so that we can apply ourselves and develop our thinking. Because end of the day, what is going to help us is our own intellect. Our own application is going to help us. So it provides that opportunity for us to apply, not take things literally. So what has happened is well-meaning teachers, people in the long term, in the long run, they try to interpret these cryptic text and they complicated it further, taking the knowledge away from society as it were. The purpose was to make it convenient, easier for people to apply, understand, and apply in their day-to-day life and grow, reach the goal of life. But the whole purpose of the knowledge is warped. So the true scope of knowledge is living it and reaching the ultimate goal is enlightenment. So it is to promote independent self-reflection. Truth is verified through practical living, instill living knowledge and culture, anchors in supreme reality, free from bias. That was the purpose of education. Spiritual education is supposed to give higher values, give a direction in life for all the society, and help them to think for themselves. The area here, if you understand, spirituality is a very gray area. It's completely unknown. Remember, we did a topic moving from known to unknown. The purpose of education is to move from known to unknown. Whereas the whole thing is unknown. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how the life is going on, how the nature is functioning, how the laws are being maintained. We don't know. We don't understand it. So what people do is they use a fear factor to create, establish their authority. Follow me, listen to me, do whatever I say, only then you are growing, you are progressing. That is not helping the person because it's not helping the person to think for themselves. The purpose of spiritual education, it was cryptic, yes. The purpose is to help people to think for themselves. Don't make it difficult, complicated, less accessible, and use the fear factor. That's not the way to approach it. So it has to be, we need to promote independent self-reflection, and it has to be verified through practical living. Like any lab, any science stream we take, it can be chemistry or physics or anything, we verify the laws, we verify the statements in the lab. Similarly, it is important, Vedanta is a science, it's a technical knowledge. Unfortunately, it's not seen as that, and that's why people get stuck. So it has to be verified for ourselves. We need to understand it, we need to test it. Don't take it just because they are saying it. So truth has to be verified in our daily living, practical living. Simple thing like, we say, anyone, unselfishness and happiness cannot go together. It's a law. If you want to be happy, you have to be unselfish. If you're selfish, you will never be happy. That's a law, right? Inversely proportional. More selfish you are, less happy you are. Now, this is a statement being made. Verify for yourself. Find out in your own experiences, people around you. Find out people who are relatively happy, relatively peaceful. What sort of life they are leading? Are they happy? Yes. Are they selfish? No. They have been helping, they have been concerned, they have been caring for people around, maybe to an extent. To whatever extent they are unselfish, to that extent they're happy. So try it out in your own life. Okay, this area I don't understand. Let me try to be unselfish. Unselfishness means thinking for others. A simple task like when you're driving. How difficult it is to be concerned or thoughtful about others around us. Let them go. Let them drive. It's okay. You don't lose anything. Or in a queue, let the other person go first. So a concern for others is what we're talking about, unselfishness. Verify for yourself. When the flight lands, first time, when you are rushing, you're panicking, you want to get out, first thing, you want to be the first person to come out of the flight. Versus you're relaxed, you're sitting down, letting other people go. Observe both the cases. Observe the state of your mind. In the first case, you were anxious, you were worried, you were so agitated. The second case, you were calm, you were in control of yourself, you knew what you're doing. Did you lose anything in that process? No. You anyway have to wait for the luggage in the belt. The flight is not going to take off without you, with you. So that's what we mean by application of intellect and knowledge. So moment you try testing it in your own life, automatically you see the effect of it. That gives you a confidence in the knowledge and you start moving in that direction. That's the scope of this knowledge, right? So a true spiritual education goes beyond mechanical recitation of ancient text and irrational beliefs. It fosters independent thinking, self reflection, and the verification of eternal truths in daily life, leading to genuine enlightenment and a grounding in supreme reality free from dogmatic authority. So, this interesting idea which is coming next. So, this is what we are talking about. The scope of spiritual education is to help to remove that ignorance in the society and give a direction for humanity, right? Help people to think for themselves. That's the way. Now, you need to put in time and effort to learn and live the sublime truths of life. Practice them constantly. Study, reflect, verify the knowledge in your own life. The path of truth is trying, difficult in the beginning, but you must continue your practice. Cross over the initial impediments and obstacles. You will find the same path later becoming pleasant and easy to cover. Nature seems to help when you want to help yourself. Trials and tribulations, opposition, obstacles are bound to come in your spiritual pursuit. They tease you if you are not endowed with a strong intellect. But the intellectual strength you can overcome these are only seeming difficulties in your pursuit of truth. The right type of spiritual education anchors you in the supreme reality. You ought not to let yourself be influenced by any school of thought, not be impaired by concession or conformity to any institution. You take in the truth of life as it reveals itself to you, not distort it with religious bias. So, there's a very interesting example which Swamiji gives here of a car. You may wonder how this knowledge will take me to ultimate reality. It seems almost impossible. Where are we? We're talking about Google Map, and the destination is thousands and thousands of kilometers away. How will this knowledge take me there? To explain that, he uses a very interesting example of a car. So, the path of realization, when you keep moving, see, when you lit the car, the headlight of the car, it goes to some distance, 100 meter, 150 meters. You wonder how is this light of the headlight will take you to the ultimate end, till the end of goal. When you keep driving, when you keep moving, automatically it takes you, it shows, it removes the ignorance to a point. You keep moving, it removes further ignorance, and you keep progressing in life, and automatically you are in the right direction and you reach the ultimate destination. That's the example of a car. So he says, you may wonder how your limited intellect can gain the supreme knowledge, but it works like a headlight of your car. The light can illumine the road up to few meters, but the same light can take you through hundreds of kilometers in the darkness of the night. Drive on, the light continues to illumine the entire path. You will reach your destination. Thus must you strive in the present. The little knowledge gained effaces a little ignorance. Keep moving. This process will take you to the ultimate truth. So when you keep progressing, so two things important. The direction is very important. If I am in the right direction, and the knowledge, the process is very important. Are you gaining the knowledge, how you're going about it? That's the effort. That's study, reflection, developing the intellect, working on the intellect. So we only have two things we can do, practically speaking. One is use the present intellect in our day-to-day life. I'll come back to that. And second is develop the intellect further. These are the only two things which we can do. What do we mean by the first part? What happens is, most of the time, there are times when we regret our action. We did something and we feel, oh, I shouldn't have done it. Now you may wonder, who is saying it? It's not somebody else telling you. You yourself regret your own action. Which means what? Your intellect was not available before the action. When the mind was highly anxious, your mind overpowered your intellect, so it was not available before the action. You committed the action. It can be anger, you screamed at somebody, and afterwards you felt it was wrong. You shouldn't have done it. You could have done it better. You could have handled it better. You feel that, right? Now, why you're feeling it? Your own intellect is telling you. And why is it happening? Because later on, your mind is calm, so your intellect is available. So the first phase is making your intellect available, your present intellect, whatever intellect you have, making it available at all times. So start with, which comes down to conscious action, being more conscious of our activity. So one of the process given, it will be coming up, it's called introspection. Introspection is, I think we discussed it, I remember here. Introspection is, end of the day, before you go to sleep, the last thing what you do is keep a dim light, sit down, and try to recollect your day. From the time you got up, these are the things I did. I got up, I freshened up, I did study, did gym, workout, I went to office, had meal, whatever, and then came back, now go to sleep. You're merely going through the experiences. You're not to get involved in any of the experiences. It is just your overall seeing through the day, basically. So it should not take more than 4 to 5 minutes. You will see that there are things you don't remember. What did I do from 11 to 1? Doesn't matter. You don't want to call anyone, you don't want to find out, investigate, leave it. Go to next. So those are the time you're conscious. Other times you're unconsciously performing action. When you keep doing this introspection before you go to sleep, do it every day, what will happen is your present intellect becomes more alert. You become more conscious. I went to I had the breakfast, I went to office, and the rest. I have had breakfast, I went to the lift, I went to office, and the rest. I had breakfast, I went to a lift, I screamed at the lift boy, and then I went to the office. I had breakfast, I went to a lift, screamed at the lift boy, went to office. Now, next time, when the lift comes late, you suddenly realize what is meant by intellect coming before the action. Why am I screaming at the lift boy? What is his fault? He is merely operating the lift. He's helping me to operate the lift, that's all. If I want to reach early, I leave early. Simple as that. Peak hour, there will be difficulty in the lift. Your intellect came before the action. Next time you see the lift boy, you smile at him and you move it. That's what is meant by intellect coming before the action. You become conscious of that action. So introspection helps you to become more conscious of the actions. So whatever present intellect is there, you apply it. Second is developing the intellect, which is what we did today morning. Today is reflection, Manana. Study, spend some time. This is something which is valuable, something which is important. Spend some time, whatever you can, based on your convenience, but keep it regular. Consume the information, knowledge, read less, think more, reflection. Try to understand it better. And that reflection is going to develop your intellect further. It's like going to a gym every day in the morning. That exercise, that workout is going to help you to develop that stamina. So that's the best we can do. So making your present intellect available, more conscious, and developing the intellect. So you have the literature, you have the information, you have the knowledge, put that effort and reflect on it and apply it in your own day-to-day life. Thank you so much.